Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. This is season 6, episode number 8, Andy. 8, the sports edition tonight on this Monday night, December 30th, 2024, New Year's Eve. Day is tomorrow, Andy.
Yes, got big plans. We're going out of town for the week,
Okay.
or those 2 days. Happens to be a friend of ours. He turns the big 50 tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll be down there seeing Brian for his 50th birthday down in the Sleepy Eye.
Oh, yes. I know him. Yes.
You know Brian well.
Good part of the state down there. 2 hours away, 2.5 hours south, maybe west?
I usually sleep the whole time.
Well, all
My
I
wife
can
has
say
to nudge me
now,
when I get to a corner so I can turn, but yeah,
all I can say now is that you have plenty of football to watch if you like college bowl games.
yes, if you're into the college football, which it throws me off because the other day I saw the schedule. It said, "Oh, these games are on a Wednesday." I'm like, "What the hell are they on a Wednesday for?" Oh, that's New Year's Day. A little slow on the uptake when I was reading the paper there at the end.
And we'll cover a little more on the episode here, but there's the college bowl games, and then there's the college football playoff games this week. That are also bowl games, and so it does get to be confusing. But New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, lots going on. So let's kick off the episode. I don't have a trivia question. I'll think of one here as we go, maybe for the end. But we got a lot going on here today.
We're dealing with a lot of stuff.
Oh, yes.
All right, here we go. The Bunnies are losing their coach. Washington State has hired Jimmy Rogers, head coach at South Dakota State, to be Wazoo's head coach to a 5-year contract. He's expected to take the staff with him. Now,
interesting.
With that said, I remember their quarterback beginning last year, turned down $1 million for NIL money. He wanted to stay. He wanted to three-peat. He wanted to set some things, which I totally respect. A bunch of players turned down money. Well, Mark Gronkowski today said he's going to enter the transfer portal. He's weighing his options before declaring for the NFL draft.
Okay.
So now, and again, because college football basketball has become such a business, I don't blame him on this. Yes, the Bison have had 4 straight quarterbacks get drafted and go. But maybe he wants to get a little more shine, get a little more Division I or FCS exposure.
Sure.
Even if he's starting at Southwest New Mexico State or whatever the hell it'd be, you get a little more exposure, or do you just roll your dice and go now, see what happens? A lot of scouts were at the Bison and the Jackrabbit game, so he could flat out go. I would like to see him go for the sole fact that I'd hate for him to take the money and go somewhere and suck. And then, we ain't going to draft him and it ruins his career.
And it certainly could.
Yep. So I'd rather just, you're hot, now.
There's always the Arena League. There's always the UFL. There's always Canadian Football League. There's things to do, but you're right. Your stock could drop. Now, the only thing I want to say about the portal, and I think this is part of what feeds into why it's so popular, is that it's not dried in cement. You can enter the portal, give it a week or two, and then pull your name back out of the portal and say, you know what, I didn't like the offers I got. You're not locked in. You can pull out. Declaring for the NFL draft is something that you can't now all of a sudden just undo.
Some kids changed teams 3 times in the last 6 weeks, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what's part of what's driving all this nasty stuff, because if it was locked in, it was more penalty if you did it and you're done, there's no going back. Less people would do it. So there's less retribution for that. So if you don't like it, okay, I guess I'm going to come out. I don't like the offers I have. I don't like the schools looking at me. So I'm going to undo it now.
Well, I've seen some names where guys are actually going from FCS or FBS down to FCS or FCS down to NAIA. They're going down because they want to play. And now if you're going down, I want more exposure for my draft. They're going because they want to play. Maybe, hey, I was at this school. I was promised to start. I'm not going to start. Well, this other school, maybe NAIA or a lower branch, but I can still get my education there. I'll play.
Yeah.
know.
It's a lot going on is what it is. And I would agree with Gronowski that I don't like, what he's doing, but I'm an older guy in my 50s. I'd like to leave well enough alone. If I was his age, I'd probably do the same thing. You'd have to explore your options at least.
Or if he was my kid, I'd tell him, see what you got. Speaking of stuff like that, Cam Ward quit on his team halfway through the game. Broke the record for career touchdown passes in a career and sat because he wants to save himself for the pros.
So I saw that also, and I don't know if that was entirely correct or if we heard it wrong or heard it right. I don't know if he got benched or I don't know if he got the choice to say, hey, would you like to start and play?
I think it was kind of an unofficial agreement with the coaches. Once I break the record, pull me
out, and then let the other guys let's see what it is. So very strange once again, but that's what we're seeing now at this time of year.
And here's what we're seeing in basketball. 6 former FSU basketball players filed a lawsuit Monday against their coach for unpaid promised NIL compensation totaling $1.5 million. The players acknowledged within the documents that they boycotted a practice last season over missed payments. According to the suit, Florida State players boycotted a practice ahead of a February 17th game against Duke and were also determined not to participate in the game until Hamilton told players they would be paid the following week. So now these guys are thinking they're more, oh yeah, you're not going to pay me? I won't play. Wait a minute. You're 19 years old. You don't know your head from your ass. Play.
But
this is what the NIL is doing. It's ruining the games.
From the coach to say, okay, play the game. I'll guarantee you're going to get the money. So they play. They never get the money. Now they got to resort to a lawsuit.
They're suing the coach.
He's not the one who pays money involved with any. Oh God, it's too much.
The coach ain't the one who pays him. Why are they suing him?
Well, I think it's because he personally guaranteed that if you play, we'll take care of the problems on the other side, and it didn't happen. So they had to retort to go to someone to say, "You got us into this mess." But it relates to money, Andy. In college, there shouldn't be money questions or money issues in college sports. These kids are in school trying to get an education, trying to get a degree, and then playing sports on the side. But what we're seeing here, the truth of the matter is the students are in college to play sports, and then get the education on the side is really what this is all about. So it's almost like you need a minor league system that kids who don't want to get their degree and want to get a school or go to school, they just want to play. There should be a system available to those kids. The ones that are going that aren't smart anyway are getting tutors, doing all their work and everything essentially for them anyway. So it's just a formality, but all of these things, it's why I'm looking forward to 2025, Andy. I can't wait to get this year behind us.
Eric Dickerson rushed for 2,105 yards in 16 games. Excuse me. Saquon Barkley rushed for 2,005 yards in 16 games. Anyone who claims that when he breaks the record next week as the all-time leading rusher is a liar, in my opinion. We've talked about this with all sports, but just football is going on now, so I'm using this one. It's kind of like with Barry Bonds. He had more games in a season for the home run, or he played more games for home runs, or so it's more hits in their career. Well, he played longer. Hockey, this guy played longer, got more goals.
Or it's Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark. If he had the 3-point line, he would have more points. You're not comparing apples to apples here. Oh, you have more rushing yards in a season in a 17-game season compared to 16. Yes. Stop at 16 games. That's the record after 16 games. Whatever Barkley gets next week, that's the record for a 17-game season. I'm okay having different categories. I can live with that.
And it's going to be another asterisk kind of thing.
But get rid of the asterisks. Just have categories. When they played 14 games a year, here's the record. When they played 16 games, here's a record. If you look back on, well, this guy played 14 games, and he scored 10 more touchdowns than this guy who had 17 games. Well, then I guess the guy in the 14-game season was a much better player.
And so, Andy, they've had for when we were growing up, it was a 16-game NFL season. That's all that we really knew.
Yep.
And they said, if we're going to go to expand it to 17, some people did bring up this very thing by saying, you got to remember then the records are going to be goofy if you go to a 17-game season. And now we're running into this.
Yep.
We know that if they do cancel and drop off another exhibition game, which I think they will, they'll cut the preseason to 2 and make the regular season 18 games. We're going to run into
2
this
bye
thing
weeks.
now
Yep.
again in a couple of years if they do this.
Yep.
So it is what it is. You can talk about it until you're red in the face, but you have to have either an asterisk or a category or something because it's never going to be just normal records anymore.
Right. Minnesota high school girls wrestling participation. Numbers are going up, Dan. Look at that. From 2020 to 2021, it was 149. The year was unsanctioned. And they were sanctioned after that, got 250. They're up to 1505 this year. This sport is blowing up, growing faster than a wildfire.
Yeah, it is. It is really taking off.
And I think the reason you can see these numbers changing now, like we talked about before, this is the one sport, because it's based by weight, so you're kind of evenly balanced, where I'm okay with boys against girls competing against each other. Now, here's the problem with that, though. If you didn't start me or my son wrestling against girls at the age of 4, I'm not going to start doing it at 14. You know, because just that's the way we were raised. You don't hold girls like that. But if you've been wrestling with them since they were 4 or 5, they're just another wrestler. So this number, I think, is going to really blow up more in a few years when we've gotten to that group is up there. The younger kids that could stay into it with high school.
The ones that started and then carried all the way through. So you get a full life cycle of the youth coming in as a girl, going through the system as a girl. Yeah, interesting.
All right, Alex Ovechkin is back. He's healthy. Still be about a year and a half or so, and he'll break Gretzky's record, maybe, if he keeps playing. If he has another injury. But for you OV fans, he is back. We will continue our OV watch next week. Oh, sorry, 2 weeks from now. So next week we got the watch-along game, the Bison Montana State game. But so in 2 weeks, we'll continue our OV watch and see how he closes in on Gretzky's record. Sammy Sosa wrote a cute little letter saying sorry. And the Cub fans got all giddy and said, "Oh, we forgive you, Sammy. We love you." And it just made me kind of want to vomit a little. If the one guy goes for the foul ball and you want to kill him, Sammy makes you guys look like a bunch of fools by taking steroids, and that's okay. I don't get it. You can't have it both ways. Either you like them both or you hate them both. You can't pick favorites.
Yep.
And one more thing, Dan, you always hear, you see a lot in the hot stove time, Mount Rushmores. Here's my Mount Rushmore, my favorite St. Louis Cardinal players. Here's my Mount Rushmore favorite Leaf players. If you had to make for people I saw growing up, Mount Rushmore favorite broadcasters, Greg Gumbel, who passed away the other day, would be on that list for me. Yeah. I always kind of liked him as a broadcaster. He wasn't a straight guy, wasn't a funny guy, but he got it out there. Kind of lived in his brother Bryant's shadow for a little bit. But I liked Greg Gumbel. He did some Olympic stuff. He always did the football, NFL Today stuff. I always respected his work. And as a reporter, I believed him.
Yeah.
You know, if he said, hey, this team's really going places, he's not saying it because these guys nose up the owner's ass. He's saying it because he's looked at the stuff and sees they're going places. You know? That's what I respect about. So and I'm not going to go into the other 3. That's another show for another day. And besides, I'm still coming up one short. He would be on that Mount Rushmore of sports broadcasters in my lifetime that I respected.
Yeah, for me,
wasn't the best, wasn't the greatest, wasn't the funniest. Who you respected?
Final Four, NCAA Final Four time. Yeah. I love my Greg Gumbel. NFL, same thing.
He got to it. He did his bits. And,
this was Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable.
Yeah. And on a side note, like I said, I respect what he said. Kind of like we don't cross the line very often. Jimmy Carter passed away. I respected what Jimmy Carter did and said. Didn't really per se agree with him on everything, but I respected him. And how he wasn't a name dropper, and he did so much more after he got out of office. He didn't say, I'm going to sit back here, write a few books, and make money. No, he kept doing stuff. That's what Greg Gumbel was kind of like. He was always, sorry, Greg, you're not the head Olympic broadcaster anymore. Okay, cool. Can I do some football games? Can I do basketball games? He didn't care. He wanted a job and work, and he did it.
Gumbel, very good. Like I said, not flashy, not a big name, not a flashy guy. Just was always dependable guy that was reliable. You turn on sports, he was the guy doing it. You knew you were in good hands listening to the report.
He wasn't a straight guy like a Tony Kubek, because Greg Gumbel would have the one-liner in there every now and then, or he'd rib along, but you knew he was going to keep the show flowing in a talk show format. That's what I respected about that. Couple other notes is women's professional hockey. They're having a lot of games this season at neutral sites as they look for expansion. So just fair warning as you're going through the newspaper or you're reading online or you're checking our podcasts or our social media. What? Boston and Montreal played in Seattle? What the hell? Because that's what they're doing. They're pushing the game around the different sites. So
there's only the 6 original teams from last year, the original season, and that was it. Now we're in season 2. So now they got the uniforms, they got the logos, and now they got the sweaters. Now they're going to play games at home and away, and also some neutral sites to get expansion. So it's going to be very, very interesting.
And one of the rule changes they put in this year, which I kind of like, not a total puckhead, but I think I'm a puckhead enough to understand this. And I'll kind of explain it first. In hockey, you have the goalie, 2 defensemen, a center, and 2 wingers. That's your people on the ice. Well, if there was a penalty, you put your penalty killing team on the ice. No. Now, if your defenseman gets a penalty, you have to play with 1 defenseman, 2 wingers, and a center. You can't. Whoever got the penalty, you're short that position.
You're shorthanded that actual position. See, I like that.
So I kind of like that. They said it's to increase scoring. Well, I kind of like hockey being a 2-1 game. That's the whole idea of it. But I like the idea of like whoever gets the penalty kind of makes the player have to be more versatile, more roundabout, not more like football's got to be like, hey, I'll only play when it's 3rd and 10 or longer, and that's it.
Down and distance.
And you got some specialty players. Okay, that they have to get rid of that in hockey for women's hockey. You're not going to have your penalty killers anymore. You all have to be a little bit of a penalty killer. So
I think
that should be interesting.
That'll be fun. Good stuff. So we got the NFL wrapping up their. They have 1 week left of the regular season. The playoffs will begin after that. The NHL and the NBA are coming up on, what are they? A third or 40% through the regular season now. They're at 40% through. College bowl game is really going to be the big things coming up now is the college bowls, those things. The D3 championship game, January 5th, Mount Union versus North Central. That should be very interesting. And we got the Montana State, of course, NDSU, college football.
We're going to do a watch along with that on Monday. We're not going to really broadcast it. We're going to have the watch along. We're going to be here at the Shadow Studios. We're going to have it on. And we're going to be just like the 2 guys just watching you talking. We'll talk about other stuff that came up that week in sports like we do here. It's just, we're going to do it. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you right now. If it's 35-3 at halftime, we're cutting it. We're not going to try to make it interesting to watch because we know no one's going to watch. So we're not going to waste our time. Unless we got topics we're talking about, but you get bored of the ESPN announcers or you just want to hear what else is going on, flip over to us. We'll be on our YouTube channel. Not going to do it Facebook Live or Instagram or Twitter or anything else. It'll be just that. We might record something special at halftime to put on the other things, but we'll. Brian and Kevin and the interns are still figuring that out, so we don't know.
So tomorrow, New Year's Eve, lots of college football. New Year's Day, of course, college football. And then the winners from those quarterfinal games will play in the semifinals the week later in another bowl game. But by that time, all the other bowls will be done. The Minnesota Gophers are playing Friday night. That should be a good game to watch. Yeah. I think in the bowl game that they're in, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Yes. We'll see how it goes. That's all I've got, I think, for this week.
Yeah, nice little short episode. Happy New Year. Be safe. Talk to you later.
See you next week. See ya.